Hello, welcome to an episode of Phi Mapping a Rabbit. Today we're going to look at this guy. Cute little bunny from Julie Marsh. Great picture, Julie. Great picture. And these are the maps we're going to use. Two different types, the Phi spiral and the Fibonacci line map, and these are the parent shapes and the maps they create. And right off the bat, let's look for our primary phi rectangles in this rabbit. In an effort to get a basic understanding of its phi geometry. So what we have to do is fixate to some key points. So one I often like is the height of the animal. So this looks like a fairly natural position. It looks like Julie might have scared it there and it's about to hop, because it's not exactly sitting on the ground, but at the same time it's a fairly natural position and it's quite representative of form. So we could say from the height of the back to about where the feet touch the ground there, which due to perspective and 2D on 3D is often a little bit higher than the front part of the foot you see, but it's hard to say. You can imagine that for yourself. And actually maybe we'll just go right to that's hard to say. Okay, actually, let's do this. Sorry. Go from the top of the ear to the bottom of the foot. And we'll say it's about that orientation for ground. So that's going to give us a rough one like that. We rotate that sideways. It shows us, yeah, about the back of the back there to about where the ground level is. So that distance is about the same as the height. Well, is the same as the height. And if that's the case, if that's a primary phi, that's going to show us this one, which is the main part of the body. But also a rough phi of the head, like that. And this one would be approximately the foot right there, looks like. This one will be approximately the front foot. Something like that. Okay. Then if we also the head a little bit. That's also the primary head. Which is also including that big thigh area right there. This one is going to somehow represent the ear. I guess a little bit of the inside of the ear. Yeah, so there are for sure a bunch of phi relationships in there. This rabbit is definitely phi. Let's try the circles. That same idea. So instead of rectangles, we're going to do basically squares, but in the circle form. Try and find a nice, so that's clearly a nice circle there. So yeah, encompassing that whole back area. Another these circles are all centered on each other. So any direct harmony that comes out of it is relevant. Let's go to the top of the head there. Really emanating in that ear. So take that one and put it down here. It's sort of talking about that back half, again emanating off of that big thigh muscle there. In that case, this goes maybe there. Much preferable when the circles touch each other. It's perfect when they do this, when they don't overlap, but they do touch. It works pretty well actually, because it's really defining that area of the foot there. And this one also is similar to the area between the legs. Similar. And if we keep that momentum heading downwards and we reduce that by 61.8%, then we take another one and reduce it by 61.8%, then we get these two, which are still in complete sequence with the other ones, and they're going to do that very well. Yes, of course. Indeed, this one is also up here where the whisker areas are, and it's going to be almost that front foot, and almost the width of that leg. Cool. Cool. Bunch of harmonic phi dimensions. Excellent. Could try the oval too. Just for one more. Try the oval. And that we know will work. And so some people will say that's a redundant exercise. Thing is, it'll fit better than the rectangle, but relates similar information. So that's a key form right there. So if we use that scale off the back like that, it's going to roughly articulate the head. Roughly articulate that. Not quite. I'm not fluent in the anatomy of a rabbit. I'm not sure what's in there, but I do know that these are lining up too nicely to not be part of this thing. lines of yeah, these are, I guess, just more general area descriptions. The back of the, just the whole mouth area. The whiskers, the nose, and the mouth. That's a key, pretty key area. And this one, just very loosely describing the head area. Quite loosely. Almost so loosely that it's not even relevant. That's going to fit there very nicely. That one was working, but I don't know. But maybe it's this one I just thought might work better. Yeah, roughly. Yeah, no, that's well, just because it's doing the top part of the head there, but down here is totally arbitrary, so. But if we just ignore all the other contexts and let this scale float, will it form the head? Very well. So that's a fairly free-floating form there, which does that. Cool. Okay. So, yeah. Rabbit's Fi could end the video here, but let's do a couple of maps just to hammer that point home. And this is definitely a preferred map with some mammals. So, again, getting some basic sense of scale. Something like these. Under the neck, right around the back, swooping down here, and sort of talking about this line, even though, what is that? I mean, that's a fur line. So there's no body in there, but there's fur in there. Yeah, so if we take that and then create another one, which is a scale down, so the same height that's this one, but a different orientation vertically as opposed to horizontally. That's going to give us that. So definitely getting a few of the core sweeps involved here. That's a little bit of semantic as to how you place that exactly. That seems parallel to the, in fact, it wants to go back a little bit. It also wants to go ahead a little bit. I wish I could see that back leg muscle there a little better, but I think it's something like that. To is odd that that's not parallel to the ground, but anyway, I think it is doing something like that. That back thigh right there and that front leg. Right. That being good from that, again, the sweep of that front leg up to the nose. Bit of that back jaw, bit of that where the head comes in off the neck, bit of that front part, arguably something more like that. Yeah, right under the ears there. Shrink that down right to the size of the head. Yeah, I feel like that should go right into the ears. Which puts this line right on the nose, I guess. So if we do that, then that puts the eye right in the center. And the mouth right there. So yeah, I think that's probably the rough shape of that. And that same scale, oriented this way. Yeah, if we reduce it down 61.8%, gives us this one, which is somehow going to talk about the ear, that's a little bit small. A little bit small, but getting to, yeah, roughly getting to the shape. Cool. Yeah, that one works real well. That one works really well. Again, to full body. In many ways, yeah, there's a number of ways that can go. That's a general one there too. So that's right from the top of the head, more or less to the bottom of the of the body there, doing all these wonderful things. Yeah, I bet you that's the best descriptor of the rabbit, that map. But we can try the inverse of that map, of the single phi spiral map. This one gets a little wacky, but that's all right. Let's do that same thing on the top of the head to about the bottom of the body. It's going to show us what? Some different things. That's a pretty good one. That one is almost doing that transition right there in the nose. Coming off the head, putting the eye centered right in the, and the mouth right on that spiral. A little bit of this general sweep and point, which is probably the pad of the foot really rests on there. That's the back of the leg. And talks about this height distance here. Just not to the body, it's just to the end of the fur, so who knows what that means. If we continue that along, it's going to talk about this foot relative to this kind of heel here. Yeah, that gets pretty wild, but there's certainly some phi stuff in there. Cool. Try the tri-spiral. Try the phi map creates basically two primary patterns, and one ends up being a single spiral, and the other one ends up being 3 spirals. And this is the 3 spiral one. Gets a good oval shape. Does a bunch of oval shapes. So hopefully that's going to illustrate the basic length of the body. Yeah, bunch of stuff happening there. Cool. And the inverse of that, just for fairness sake. See that big hump? Just basically describing the back. At the same time, it's really doing this oval part on the head here. So maybe that's to be a little bit bigger. For the oval it does, but then that makes the hump too big. So no. I mean, that hump on the back is almost perfect. Yeah, this is a really good one here. Because it is talking about this whole... So that's a major entrance into the bunny, and arguably that's a major exit from the bunny. Spiral right on the eye. Doing that major arc in the back. And then if we try to match those two, one obvious matching is this one, which is a little bit talking about this area, right in between the legs, reinforcing that area. Talking about this sweep in the front also, putting a spiral right on the little thigh and a major cross right on that thigh, right in the middle. That's probably that's getting close to the, actually that, I can't tell. That's getting close to the big thigh right there. Cool. Very cool. Very cool. Did I mention this picture's by Julie Marsh? I hope I did. Julie, heck of a job. Heck of a job. Nice photograph. So hard to tell how natural this position of the rabbit is. It's definitely a little bit off the ground there. It's possible Julie gave him a bit of a scare here. He was deciding whether or not to get out of this corner of the garden. No doubt up to no good. Up to no good from a gardener's perspective. Yeah, again, talking about a bunch of different types of sweep, sweeping forms. Not as great that way. And let's try a linear one. This one is bisecting the 5 rectangles. It's kind of a neat map, which often shows some major axes in any given creature. I'm going to try and stick with that basic perspective, and we'll go to the length of the body. And it's wanting to suggest this type of stuff. Which is, in fairness, I think a little more like this. like the ear stretched all the way up there just to get that, make sure it got that point of axis there. Now if we take that scale and reduce it down by 5, so it make a new one, the other orientation to the same dimension as that, then that scale is going to show this type of relationship. Right on the paw there, right slicing the neck, right on the paw. Top of the ear to the nose, right to there. Cool. I'll do that to the body again. We'll get the larger one here. Something more or less like that. Does that angle on the tail so well. And then if we play with this axis thing, what happens? Yeah, a number of ways we're going to orient that. It will give us different types of information. Probably the throat point to the ear canal point there. Yeah, maybe that's better. You get the nostril, probably where it chews, right on its eye, right on its ear, and right on its neck, throat there, and then it's back there with this angle coming down here, which is getting to a bunch of muscles back there. Yeah, that's kind of a neat one. Cool. Well, there you go. That's a little investigate. Yeah, let's. Do we do the tri-spiral? Full disclosure, I just did this video and it didn't work out so well. And now I'm mixing up what I've done already and what I haven't. That's a great one. Look at that. So really talking about that front of the, and look at that. That's amazing. Eye, front profile, almost the chin there, top of the head for sure, right on this nexus point, and then talking about the width of the ear up there. That's fantastic. Is that another orientation there? If we go, oh yeah, see there's another one. Talking about that form on the head there, puts a spiral right there. Talking about these different inside of the mouth area, I guess, I don't know. A little bit on the outside of the head, but this back shape here is really lining up very well with just the general arch of the back of the bunny. Putting the spiral right in the eye again. Possibly a little bit more like this. And conceivably even just a little bit smaller. Yes. Also talking about the ear right there. On that back part anyway, and the back end where it switches and changes right here, putting a nexus right there in the back of the neck. And we'll take that one and move it down here like this. And it's also a little bit talking about that relationship between the legs. A little bit there. Talking about entry, exit. A little bit of this sweep under there, not quite as much, not as good as if I spiral, but that was great. And in that case, let's try the tri-spiral. So, similar to the single spiral, but a different sequence, so a different pattern. See within, well, that's appealing. That feels like it wants to be the one. We got this vortex right there on the eye, and that doing that transition right there, that angular transition. Big line going through the mouth and through the nose and the eyes. Not really doing the ear that well, but if we push it down, so it's talking about that back part, right to under the legs, and we shrink it a little bit. Yeah, some good ones in there. Very cool. Okay, last one. We'll do this circular pattern. This is really, it's like the phi spiral, but it's of the Fibonacci type map, and it's based on center points as opposed to perimeter points. And one of the unique things about this map is that it creates a circle right in the center, because phi does not like center points so much. Traditional center points, it creates its own center points. So again, if that's the length of the rabbit, Should just square like that. What I want to do is move this back so that this arc sort of encompasses both feet. It's kind of neat. Yeah, but it's ultimately not going to do a whole lot here. If we go to the head, these maps always have these radiant corners, because that's the nature of that map. Could go on the eye. Yep, could be something like that. Could be something like that. That's not the best one, although it fit that eye very well. Yeah, great, cool. Well, I would certainly suggest that the rabbit is a phi related creature. Great job. Great job, nature. Way to consistently use phi. Thank you, Julie. Thank you, Rabbit. Thank you guys. Have a great day out there. Stay safe and be good.